Alright, so we're ready to wrap up this series on upgrading your home theater system. And remember, I started from a 2012 HD 7.1 surround sound system, and now I have a 4K OLED with Dolby Atmos sound. So it's been quite a process here, and we're about ready to wrap it up. So just a few odds and ends to cover, and then I'll see you in a few 3 or 4 months when the new Xbox Series X comes out, and that's when we'll be replacing our Blu-ray player with that, so we can play 4K Blu-ray discs with Dolby True HD sound, and we'll also be able to play video games at 4K, so that'll be pretty exciting. Alright, so let's go through the few things that are left, and we'll wrap this thing up. Time for a test of our newly upgraded home theater system. So I've got Disney Plus up here. We're going to be checking to make sure we get Atmos sound while streaming A New Hope, and at the same time we're going to check the temperature rise of the cabinet down here with the receiver in it. So the receiver has 125 watts per channel, and we're driving let's see, 9 speakers. Is that right? Yeah, 9 speakers. So there could be some heat buildup. Someone mentioned on one of the comment threads that Denons have a lot of heat buildup. So we're going to be checking that out. Right now, 70 degrees. So once we get started up, I will close the cabinet and we'll check it after the movie's over. So it's a 2-hour movie, and we'll see what happens. So I want to go over the heat mitigation things I've done to the cabinet. So you can see in the back there's a bunch of holes that I used for ventilation. Also, they're handy for running cords out. Those are along the top, and then down at the bottom there's a hole over there for cords, and this exits to the other side of the cabinet. So there are some holes on the other side of the cabinet. And of course, the air leaks through the door of the cabinet for sure. And then on top here, I've got these 2 PC fans. So I'll grab one of those out of here. And they just pull air. They're just standard PC fans, you know, one of the silent types. I installed the grills with these rubberized connectors. And so on the bottom, the rubberized connectors stick out and they act like little feet. So it's up above the top of the receiver. Now the left side is the heaviest, so I'm assuming that's where the main amplifier is. But I got one over here too, so I got 2 of them. They're set up, they're plugged into our smart power strip, so that when the TV goes on, these fans go on along with the receiver. So, alright, so we'll see how well this does. I mean, I've had this kind of system for the old receiver, and it seemed to work fine. So we'll put our thermometer up here. It's now up to 71. And we'll close the cabinet and run the movie and see what happens. Alright, before we start the movie, I pulled the receiver out, and I wanted to show you that for added fresh, cool airflow, I've drilled some holes through this shelf underneath the receiver. So it's kind of right in the middle, so it'll be able to spread out as it comes up through the grid on the bottom, and that should give us good cool airflow from the lowest part of the cabinet, which is where the cool air is. So I didn't want to make too many holes because this is a heavy receiver. I didn't want it to fall through. So just a few holes in the center. It wouldn't interfere with the feet or anything, and that should provide us a good airflow to keep the temperatures down to a reasonable number. Okay, so for the first part of our test here, we're going to make sure Atmos is coming through, and then we'll let it run for the 2 hours and check the heat afterwards. So we're going to start it up. Right now it's showing stereo, but when we say play, it should switch to Atmos. Yeah, so now we're showing Atmos. So we're getting Dolby Vision and Atmos from Disney Plus, so that's nice. We'll just wait for the intro here. And then we'll shut it off. Alright. Now if we come down here, the starting temperature has already gone up to 72, so we'll see what it is after 2 hours. See you then. Alright, the movie's over, and let's see what the temperature is. It's up to 87 degrees, so it started at 73, which was the ambient temperature, and then running the whole episode 4 for 2 hours, it only went up to 87, so that should be fine as far as temperature limits for the new receiver. So you might remember on an earlier video I had to program the sound coming out of my Samsung Blu-ray player to be bitstream because PCM wasn't working. I since remembered that that was a bug, a known bug in the LG, which was just recently fixed by a firmware upgrade to 4.80.03. So the TV has that now, so let's go into the settings on the Blu-ray and set it back to PCM, which is uncompressed audio. So yeah, so we can fix this back to PCM. I would say let's turn that off. Yeah, okay. Let's turn off downsampling. Dynamic range control, that's okay. And down mixing mode. What's the options on that? Surround compatible. Yeah, let's just keep that on surround compatible. Alright, so we'll load up a movie and we'll see if we get something better than just stereo sound out of our receiver this time. Alright, so we're going to load up my favorite Star Wars movie, Rogue One. And right now it's saying we have multi-channel set in 7. So I'm not sure if that's better than the surround sound, but let's actually play the movie and see if we get something better than that. No, we're going to start from the beginning. So right now it's just showing stereo, multi-channel in 7.1. So it's showing all the speakers, multi-channel 7.1. It's not using the height speakers because it doesn't have Atmos sound. It might have Atmos on Disney Plus. I'll have to try that later. But so I was expecting surround sound instead of multi-channel in 7.1, which sounds like 7-channel stereo to me. So I'm going to try switching it back to. So in any case, the firmware upgrade just fixed the problem because before we just had stereo with the front 2 speakers. So I'm going to try switching it back to bitstream and see if we get a surround sound soundtrack out of this. So we'll just pause the movie here and come back. All right. All right. So but here we're back at the setup for the Blu-ray player. So we're going to use bitstream unprocessed. So I guess that could be better because it's not doing any processing at all. It's just sending whatever is on the disc. And we're going to let the receiver do all the work. But since the receiver is the most modern receiver available, that's probably what we want. This Blu-ray player is 2 or 3 years old now. We'll just leave the PCM downsampling off. So, all right, back to the movie, and we'll see if we get better sound. All right, so we're back here. We reset the receiver to what the Blu-ray player to what it was before, and now we're getting the Dolby Digital surround sound, which is what we want. So even though the firmware upgrade, which I'll show you that number in a second, even though the firmware upgrade fixed the problem with PCM, in this case we don't want PCM. We want uncompressed or unprocessed bit stream and let the receiver do all the work, and then we get the Dolby surround sound, which is what we want, including the height speakers. So that's cool. So I'll go ahead and bring up the firmware version number, and you can see what I'm talking about. Alright, so we just press the info button on the smart remote and go to settings, and we go to general, and we go to about this TV rather, and here's our version number. So it's 4.80.03. So it did fix that problem, but in this particular case, and maybe in your case, you don't really want to use PCM. You want to use unprocessed bit stream. That'll give you the best results. All right, so that's it for that part of the home theater setup. Now we're going to try AirPlay. We're playing the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Symphony Suite. Down at the bottom here is the AirPlay button, and we have a button for home theater. Select that, and now the sound is coming out of our home theater. Control the volume. Alright, so that's how AirPlay works. Turn it off. Alright. Alright, so the last upgrade for now is we're going to upgrade the subwoofer cable. So here's the subwoofer cable that we had with the old system. It's just got a steel, I guess, connector, and I bought this mono price 15-foot RCA cable. It's for subwoofers and other purposes. But it's got gold plating, so a little bit heavier gauge. So it'll probably improve things a little bit. It's probably not a big deal, but I figured I may as well upgrade everything that I can right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook this to get it back in there. We're going to hook this up to this cable using this plastic tape that came with the subwoofer, and we'll just wrap this around so that it can't come apart a bunch of times, and then it'll be able to pull it through, because we have to get over to the subwoofer over here. Alright, so we'll do that, and we'll catch it on the other side over there. One thing I'll mention before I actually pull it through is, when I first put it in, I used one of these things called a fish tape. It's an electrician's tool. And it's just spring steel, and you can unwind as much as you want. It's got a little hook on the end here that you can tape cable or other wiring to, and then pull it through small places like conduits or behind big giant home theater cabinets. So this is a really handy tool you probably need if you're installing things for the first time. But since the cable's already going there, we'll just use the other cable as the fish tape. Okay, so we fished the new subwoofer cable around the back of the cabinet. The other thing I did was I got one of these right angle RCA connectors, because I want to push the subwoofer up against the bottom of this speaker to kind of keep it farther toward the back. So we just plug this into here. Then we've got our upgraded subwoofer. Let's push it back. There, and then we're all set. Alright, there you have it. That's the upgrade of the 2012 home theater system to the latest and greatest 4K OLED Dolby Atmos surround with a Denon AVR-2807H receiver. So one thing I like to do when I turn on the TV is have some of the lights come on. So I've got these little lights over here. So I've got a little Millennium Falcon, changes colors, and I've got this clock I inherited from my brother. He had a giant home theater system. So now TLC's Dreamland is up and running again at my house. Alright, that's Beta Cygni signing off. If you like this series, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you again when the Xbox Series X comes out in November, probably.